forum tonight. Before I go over the rules of engagement for the forum, I just want to point out a couple of things that are upcoming within the chamber. September the 23rd, who knows what starts on September the 23rd? Anybody?
Restaurant Week.
Restaurant Week, very good. And what has already started that is going to help fund the Bill Hughes Memorial Scholarship?
Oh man, I've done a terrible job marketing.
Taste of Fluvanna.
Taste of Fluvanna.
Yeah.
We actually have raffle tickets available for that tonight. And what is the winning prize on that, Ruth Ann?
More than $400 worth of gift certificates to area restaurants, bakeries, grocery stores.
So that's $400 worth of gift certificates to local bakeries, restaurants, and other stores. And the price of the tickets are $10
For one and 100 for 15.
and 100 for 15. So if you see Ruth Ann, we will probably take a short intermission around 7:30 to let everybody stretch and do that. October the 1st, we have another networking breakfast at the pub. And then October the 21st, we're right back here for the candidates forum for the state offices. So we actually have 3 contested state offices in Fluvanna County this election cycle. We have the 58th district with the incumbent Rob Bell and the challenger Elizabeth Alcorn, who happens to be here tonight. Thank you, Elizabeth. We have the 22nd Senate District with the incumbent Mark Peak and Dakota, whose last name just ran out of my head. I'm so sorry. Clador, thank you. I was going to say Clayton, but that did not sound right. And then we have the 35th, which is Lee Ware is the incumbent, and Mike Aspic is running against him. So the format will be the same for that as tonight. And so let me just head into the format. So over the last 6 or 7 weeks, we've been gathering questions from the community as we meet with them. We have 17 questions that will be asked tonight by our moderator, and I'll introduce him in just a minute. If we have time after those 17 questions, introduction and closing, then we will open it up for additional questions from the floor. It's a pretty widespread series of questions. It covers a lot of ground, so hopefully most of your questions will be answered. If you do have more questions, I'm sure that the candidates will stay around, right? So you can ask them directly what your question is. Any questions on the format? It is not a debate, it is a forum. Yes, sir.
Is this being taped, or is it?
It is being taped, yes. It's actually being taped twice. One for live broadcast on Facebook and one for posterity. It'll be on YouTube. Any questions on the format? The starting opening statement, each candidate will have, did we decide 5 or 7?
No more than 7.
No more than 7 minutes, so between 5 and 7 minutes, to tell you a little bit about who they are. We have already determined who will go first on that. My chamber treasurer, Daryl, is the timekeeper, so when you see him flash a red thing up there, it means the candidate went too long. Our moderator tonight is the distinguished Bill Hitchcock, longtime government and history professor at Fork Union Military Academy. He's been at the academy for about 45 years. That's a little bit of time. He and Catherine and I have been associates for the last 20 years. So when it came time to find somebody who was with a good speaking voice, was well versed in politics, and understood how to speak to a crowd, Bill was the obvious choice. So, Mr. Hitchcock, I turn the mic over to you.
Thank you. The background now, the background check biography will start with, let's see, with Ben, Mr. Hudson. Mr. Hudson, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much for coming out this evening. I'm running for the office of the county treasurer because I want this office to be the very best county treasurer in the state, in the Commonwealth. Before I tell you exactly how my plans for accomplishing that, I'd like to step back and tell you a little bit about myself and what I've done over the last many years. I was born and raised in South Carolina, in the Low Country, affectionately known as Marshlands, just north of Charleston in Georgetown County. We come from a very humble background. My father was a carpenter, a professional carpenter, and a Methodist minister. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. They taught us the values of hard work, treating people with respect and dignity, being able to know your left and right limits, and more importantly, learn to be able to carry your name in a way that is trustworthy. As I finished high school, I graduated from high school in 1979, and I earned a scholarship to go to Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama. I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1983 and joined the Army shortly thereafter. I also graduated with a BS degree in electrical engineering from Tuskegee University. My military career had various types of assignments and roles along the way. In 1993, I was assigned at the National Ground Intelligence Center in downtown Charlottesville, where I worked as a communications analyst on foreign equipment. Over the years in the military, I served in many key staff and command level positions. In those positions, it gave me the key leadership to not only supervise personnel, but also to look at budgets and to manage budgets in the amount of some total of $500 million. In that capacity, I had the responsibility of making sure that the lines were correct, making sure that the money was correct, what was going in, what was coming out, balanced, making sure that the personnel and the resources that were set were aligned, and just making sure that the unit was fiscally healthy. As I began to transition out of the military, out of Miami, Florida in 2008, my wife and I kind of reflect on many years of being served in the service and the many places that we had visited. One of those places was Charlottesville in 1993. And we decided, you know what, we kind of like the weather there in Charlottesville, the Four Seasons, being nestled down at the foothills of the base of the Shenandoah Valley. And more importantly, like the friendly people here in this region, the Piedmont region. So we decided to come back. Shortly after our return, we quickly acclimated ourselves to the community. My wife is a practicing nurse practitioner at one of the local hospitals in town. I work at the high school as a teacher, engineering and math. I also have, I'm an active member of the VFW in Scottsville. I'm also the local president of the NACP, and I'm an active member of my church as a deacon. As I look forward to taking on the role as the treasurer of this county, I would bring these kinds of traits with me. The traits of personal and professional character traits of honor, duty, loyalty, integrity, dedication, and commitment. I would bring those to the office as well. And as I transition, if you all allow, to transition to that position, I would accomplish that through 4 objectives. And I would do that. 1, the first objective is to make sure or to enhance transparency, communications, and accountability of the office. I believe that it's important that the office work with it in a way that the citizens of this county are able to provide some type of oversight on what's going on in the office. So because we are accountable, that office is accountable to the people that elected the individuals to that office. And I think if we do that, we can have greater confidence in that office, as well as bring about an office that runs more efficiently for the people of this county. Secondly, I would establish a community or a treasurer's forum that will allow myself to share information, important key information about what the treasurer's office is doing, and also it would be collaborative and educational in nature. So not only would I share information with the community, but the community would also have an opportunity to provide feedback to me on what they see in terms of how that office is running, so that we can work together to help bring about that goal I mentioned earlier, making this office the best treasurer's office in the Commonwealth. Thirdly, I would investigate the opportunity for upgrading / modernizing the automation / network systems in the office. I think if we do that in the right way, we can only bring about huge efficiencies in terms of how we process data and how we collect data and how we present information out. One of the things that I would look at in a very affectionate way is looking at many different options for allowing the residents of this county to have pay options, and that would include online portal, 30 seconds. That would include an online portal as well as the debit and credit card payment in the office. Thirdly, I would seek to fourthly, I would seek to promote professional development and training for all staff members in the office. With that, I kindly ask for your support as well as your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I believe, Kim, you were number 2?
Yes, sir. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm Kim Highland, and I've been in Fluvanna for about 4 years now with my husband and daughter. We live on about a 10-acre horse farm near Scottsville. And I met my husband at George Mason University, where I attended college. And I went to high school in Chesterfield County, outside of Richmond. And a few years ago, I looked at my life. I moved around a little bit for my career and said, where do I want to live? I can live anywhere in the world. Where do I want to be? And this is where I ended up. This has a true community feeling to it. Fluvanna is built on so many different hardworking people, farmers. We have the beautiful lake as well, and has a warm, inviting community feeling to it, which has welcomed us every day that we have been here. I started out my career working for the U.S. Navy, and I worked on large-scale military sale operations to our foreign allies. So these were programs where we did the program of finance management for hundreds of millions of dollars of sales. I've worked largely with Egypt and France on the sale of E2C Hawkeyes, and worked with extensively with many other countries on AH-1W Super Cobras and Joint Operational Tactical Systems, everything from Canada to South Korea. So we worked on the finance portion of that, and also the program management, which translates very well to the county. These programs had a lot of moving parts. They had engineering, they had training, they had building facilities internal to the countries, obviously diplomacy. These translate very well to the county with the many moving parts. The scope is not quite as large, but it certainly has just as many moving parts and is just as complicated and touches each of us. I was also a real estate agent and an insurance broker, which I think is very helpful in understanding the assessment process and how we manage our taxes, how the process also works from the taxpayer side. And I was also a finance manager. I helped companies that were not as strong become stronger, that were in financial trouble regain their strength and turn back around again. And I would like to use many of these talents to help the county and serve as your treasurer. I have a plan for making that happen, and there are several ways that we can do that. As Ben mentioned, modernization is needed. And at first I thought it was one of those things, be easier on the taxpayers if we had more payment options, debit cards, credit cards. But really it's more extensive than that. It helps prevent fraud. It helps prevent human error. There are paperless systems such as Albemarle uses, which would be helpful for our county to use some of these same systems that they've already implemented. One of the main ways we can do that is talking to other treasurer's offices. I've been talking extensively to the newly retired Goochland treasurer, who, for people who've been in the county for a number of years, about 10 years ago, Goochland was in crisis and had an embezzlement issue with the treasurer there. Pam Johnson came in and helped them create a stronger, more efficient government. They now have a 99.37% collection rate there. If we could rejuvenate our delinquent tax collection and create a new system, it would help our county out immensely. We have a good collection rate at this point, it's 96%, but that extra 3% will give us about $800,000 more. So there are certainly a lot of ways that we can look at the current contract, which is about 10 years old and has not been revisited in 10 years. We need to constantly be looking for ways that we can improve our tax collection basis and be efficient in the treasurer's office. We need greater transparency. and we need an office that has management skills, that will delegate authority, and will also have checks and balances, so that within the process, one person is not responsible for the entire process. And as you know from our federal government, checks and balances are key in a well-operated government. A well-run government will be efficient and will save the taxpayers money. One of the main ways I would like to achieve this is through the education process in the Treasurer's Office. The Treasurers Association of Virginia currently offers a master certification program for all treasurers in the state. About 84% of the counties participate in this. We are one of the 16% that does not. There's a master certification process for the treasurer and also for all deputy staff. This is something we really need to participate in. We can't just be members of Treasurers Association of Virginia and not take advantage of everything that it offers and can create for us. There's been money set aside for the staff to be educated every year for this program, and we have not taken advantage of it. We can do better for Fluvanna County. One of the first classes I would take would be delinquent tax collection. There's an entire course just on that process. It's taught by tax attorneys. It's a very complicated process. I would also have the staff be required to take basic accounting for the Treasurer's Office. This is key for a well-run office. We want a customer service-friendly staff. We want a warm, welcoming, tax-friendly Treasurer's Office. These are just a few of the ideas that I would like to institute as your treasurer, and I would appreciate your vote on November 5th.
Thank you, Kim. Linda?
Yes. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for having us here tonight so everyone can meet all three candidates, make their choices, and I'd also like to thank everyone for coming out. I know everyone has a very busy schedule. My name is Linda Lenher. I was born and raised in Fluvanna County. I'm married to my husband, Richard. We have 3 sons, and we all reside in Fluvanna County. I'm a member of Wesley's Chapel United Methodist Church on Rolling Road, and I'm serve as their lay leader. I take care of the cemetery there, maintain all of the financial books pertaining to the cemetery. I attended Fluvanna County Public Schools, and I feel like Fluvanna County Public Schools are a great school system. They're well educated children that are coming out of their school systems now, and I applaud every teacher that teaches every day. I have attended Piedmont Community College for accounting. I've also attended UVA for their continuing education programs. I started work with Fluvanna County in June of 1971 for the Commonwealth's attorney and the county tax attorney. I did all of the collections of the delinquent real estate taxes under the Treasurer's Office at that time. I ran for the Treasurer of Fluvanna County in November of 1983, and I took office on January 1 of 1984. And I've been your treasurer for 35 years. When I took office in 1984, there was no computer system, none. Everything was done manually. Of course, Fluvanna County has increased in population tremendously. I immediately started using the computer system that was there, and I had the tax bills put on that system, and we processed and took the payments at that time. We've since changed computer systems, and we're now on what's called a Munis system. Fluvanna was one of the first counties to go from the Bright system that we had to Munis. And yes, we had a lot of problems, but we have worked those out. And I just want to mention, I don't have the choice of which computer system this county uses. That is determined by a procurement, and then it is actually voted on and approved by the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors. I work closely with our finance board. The finance board was actually created during my term of office. And on that board, there is a citizen member, there is a finance director, there's a board of supervisors member, and myself as treasurer. We make great investment choices, and we are earning interest with your tax dollars every day. I'm limited as to what I can invest in by the Code of Virginia. So we have very strict guidelines as to what we can do with your county money. We have to make sure that it is properly invested but safe. We are earning a great amount of interest right now because right to the present time, we've earned over $319,000 for you as the citizens of Fluvanna County. My records are audited every year by auditors, and they are selected by the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors. And this selection is done by a committee who interviews several firms that put their bids in under an RFP or a request for bid, and then it is finalized and approved by the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors. I work closely with the tax attorney for collection of delinquent real estate taxes. The contract with the tax attorney is not with me. I am only there to provide him with the list and the parcels that are delinquent. The contract is actually approved by the Board of Supervisors, signed off by our county attorney, and then the tax attorney signs that contract. I work very hard with individuals to save their homes. Yeah, our tax rate and rate collection might not be 99%, but it's 96%. And those other people that want to save their homes, they're on payment agreements. And every month they come in and they make that payment. So we try to help every individual to keep their home. And there are unusual circumstances sometimes. They're on fixed incomes. They may have lost a family member who is supporting them. They actually need some help. And those are the people that, they may not have the money to pay it all at one time, but they're making those payments. And they are sincere every time. I'm committed to maintaining all times public trust placed in me. And I just want to leave you with this. Experience matters and service counts. I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. The first question will be directed at Ben. And each candidate will have an opportunity to answer this question, and I will repeat the question for each candidate. Ben, why are you interested in serving as county treasurer?
But I indicated with the open statement, I live here now. This is my permanent home, and I want the very best. I want the very best for myself and for the people of Fluvanna County. So I'm running to help bring that about. And I think the thing that's pivotal to accomplishing that is my first objective, which is to bring about a greater transparency in that office. Because through the transparency, all the other things will mostly line up, and that is allowing to have dialogue with people in the office as well as people in the community. And through that dialogue, you'll find solutions that you might not have come up with otherwise. So I'm running to make it a better place for all the Fluvanians, and I think I have the right sort of plan to accomplish that through effective transparency, communications, and then accountability by putting in a forum that will allow the citizens of this county to take a look at what we do and what I would be doing as a treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Kim, I'll repeat the question for you. Why are you interested in serving as county treasurer?
Thank you. I believe that integrity should go without saying. The person who is responsible for the intake of all the funds for the county should have impeccable reputation and integrity. I have integrity, I'm hardworking, I have drive, I'm doing the research that needs to be done on how we can make our system better. We have a strong county, we can make it stronger. We need someone who is willing to take on the education that is required to make this a top-notch county. We have fantastic investments, we can do even better. For example, the Goochland investments last year took in $1 million in interest. We do have to be careful with our funds, we have to keep them safe. However, when we work together with the community to get their input on the investments, when we report back regularly to the Board of Supervisors on how those investments are doing, they can also offer their input. Many set of eyes are much better than just one set of eyes. And together, we need to work to make this county as profitable as possible. We are not in the best financial situation, as I'm sure everybody in this room understands. What can we do to improve it? Because right now, we're in a difficult situation, and we need someone who has the drive to get us out of this situation and put us in a better place again. Our schools will suffer, our tax rate will continue to climb. It has almost doubled in the past 10 years, and we're currently at the same tax rate as Albemarle. We can do better through our treasurer's office. This is why I'm running.
Thank you, Kim. Linda, the same question to you. Why are you interested in continuing to serve as county treasurer?
I'm very much interested in serving the citizens of Fluvanna County. I'm not quite sure that we are in such financial bad shape. We have a lot of investments out there. Our investment, ratio right now is pretty good. Our finance board looks at this at one time every month. We've started to meet now about every 3 months. But I enjoy my job because I enjoy serving the citizens of Fluvanna County. And they are the reason that I am in office. I want to help citizens of Fluvanna. Some days I say I'm a psychiatrist because people come in, they are hurting. They don't have money to pay their taxes or pay them all at one time, and they're in a difficult situation. I like helping them to put the confidence back in themselves that they're great tax-paying citizens. So, as far as education is concerned, my staff is educated. We're just not certified through the Treasurers Association of Virginia because it's very difficult with a small staff to have 2 or 3 people out of an office of 4 or 5. It's a very difficult thing. But they have all the computer training, they have DMV training, they have customer service training. They're there with a smile on their face every day to serve you and to help you. And that's the reason I enjoy my job, and I'd really like to continue to keep my job for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Kim, the next question will be directed to you. What makes you the most qualified candidate for this position?
I believe my experience in real estate and insurance, and with a very well-run government program through the U.S. Navy, as well as running small businesses, running a farm. I have hands-on experience. I'm not afraid of hard work and showing up every day and working long hours and getting the education that we need. We need to move to making our community responsible to every single taxpayer. It's not just about the delinquent tax rate. We can improve that. We can continue to work with people who get behind in their taxes, but we can create a tax ordinance that allows them to pay their current taxes while paying back their delinquent taxes, so they're not always in arrears. We can work well with the Board of Supervisors. We can create a contract that is actually with the Treasurer's Office and not with the Board of Supervisors, as it should be set up. The Board of Supervisors plays a huge role, and they are not in charge of the Treasurer's Office. We are. We make that decision. We are the boss of the Treasurer. If we're not happy with the current situation, then we need to elect a new treasurer. If the citizens of Fluvanna County are happy with how things have been run, then they should continue in the same role that they've had. But I think they have great options, and we can create a much better community.
Thank you. Linda, the same question to you. What makes you the most qualified for this position?
Well, I think experience. You know, I've been here. I know every area of this county. I know Columbia. I know Kent Store. I know Fork Union, Cunningham, you know, all the areas. And I know a lot of the people in those areas. And when you know your county, that's very important when you're serving those citizens of that county. You know, it's very difficult to make everybody happy. We all have a job, and I'm very limited by the Code of Virginia. I don't go out, I don't do your assessments. I don't make anything other than my little part of the Fluvanna County budget. I can't change anything else far as what the tax rate is, you know, what percentage you're paying over on debt. I don't make any of those decisions. The Board of Supervisors is your administrators. They are the people that sit there, make the tax rate. All I do is provide the collection process to them, how much we've collected, how much we need more to collect. You know, I'm not a policy maker, and it's very difficult under the Code of Virginia to change a lot of things in the Treasurer's Office. They are pretty much mandated. They are there. So I'm only there as a representative of you all for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Ben, I'll repeat the question for you. What makes you the most qualified candidate for this position?
I think I'm the most qualified candidate for this position because I have a variety of experience and background, leadership and managerial skills. One of the things I did not mention, there's a lot of things I did not mention in the intro piece, but I too am a licensed realtor, a former licensed realtor in the state of Florida, as well as a mortgage broker. So I've dealt with both real estate as well as dealing with mortgage instruments as well. In a professional way, in a professional license way. I've also owned 4 or 5 different businesses, most of which were, all of which were successful. So I've balanced the balance sheet before in 4 or 5 different businesses. I currently run a business, so I know what it takes to do that. But in the treasurer's position, I would submit to you, probably the biggest attribute that one can bring to it is relationship. Being able to work with people. And I've had a career of about 45 years of working with people at various different kinds of things. And I will tell you, probably my biggest challenge occurred probably around 1990 or so, when I had to tell young people, I want you to do some things that you're not gonna like. And they went out and did it for me. So I've worked with young people in a variety of different ways. I currently see 50 smiling faces every single day when I go to work right now. And I will tell you, that management skill takes a different set of management skills than what's needed for a previous job. And for this job, it will take a different set of management skills. So it's about relationships, being able to work with the people in your office and get the most from them, and also being able to work with the public. So they understand what you're doing, and they understand how you can make their lives better, and you can work together to form a stronger team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Linda, the next question. What in your background has most prepared you for this position?
Back when I started work with Fluvanna County in 1971, I worked very closely with the county tax attorney. During that time, Fluvanna County really did not have a good collection rate. I was asked by the Board of Supervisors and that county attorney to go into the treasurer's office at that time and start collecting these taxes, to go over with the treasurer how and why they were not being collected. I then worked very closely with that county attorney. I sent out the demand letters to the taxpayers. I went out and helped the county attorney to bring together all of the documentation to get this started. And then that gave me a really great feel of what actually a treasurer did. I didn't know. I was a young girl at that time, but once I got into knowing how everything was supposed to be done by the Code of Virginia, when we sell a piece of property, right now under our current tax situation, it's not an overnight process. There is a lot of steps that are set by the Code of Virginia to make sure that that taxpayer is being protected. So it's a step. It may take us a year, but learning that process and being in from ground up has been most helpful to me.
Thank you, Linda. Ben, I'll repeat the question for you. What in your background has most prepared you for this position?
In terms of my background, I think there's been a few things. And the first is, in a previous job, I worked with as many as about 130 people, 140 people that I was directly responsible for. And in that capacity, not only did I manage the people, but I also managed the equipment as well as the dollars that goes with it. So in that, there were many nights where from time to time I'd have to go down and evaluate or assess not only the people, but also the finances, to make sure that the finances, we were not overrunning the finances. So I did that for more than 18 months as a certain grade level professional person. Secondly, in my own business, I did that in my own business when I ran an automobile used car company. I was able to manage those assets in a way that the books balanced. Thirdly, I have a background in engineering, and in that background, it requires you to take every math course that you can conceivably think of. So I know how to use think about math and how to get percentages and that sort of stuff done very quickly. And fourthly, I believe in technology. I believe that technology, I'm not saying technology would eliminate the task for people, but I do believe technology is essential for many different reasons. And you have to be able to embrace technology and know how to use and manipulate technology so that it can be a multiplier for what you're trying to accomplish. And probably fifthly, again, is working with people. I have had decades and decades on different kinds of level of simply working with people. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Kim, I'll repeat the question for you. What in your background has most prepared you for this position?
I believe my experience with the U.S. Navy, working on program finance management for the sale of B-2C Hawkeyes, particularly to the country of Egypt, was probably the most beneficial. There was a lot of diplomacy involved. It was part of the Sadat-Begin peace accords. It was being highly watched by every component of our federal government, as well as worldwide. It hinged on our diplomatic relations. every bit of finances had to be impeccable. We were updating all of the computer systems for tracking all of the different systems across the world for worldwide sales. Updating all of those, keeping the finances in check at the same time. I really didn't know about the problems of the government at that time because I was fortunate enough to work on an incredibly well-run government program. I didn't know our government had the issues that it has because I wasn't experiencing them. We had an extraordinary experience and kept the peace with the Middle East. Next challenging might be the country of France. They were probably more difficult to deal with. But also, again, with our European counterparts, that was a sale that took 17 years. And I was there for its inception and getting the program started, involved down to the details of launching an aircraft off of an aircraft carrier, down to reconciling every penny between our countries. And as well, I think my real estate background and having to make my living every day in real estate and account for people's money as individuals is very helpful in this position.
Thank you, Kim. The next question will be directed at Ben. Ben, what do you feel are the top 3 characteristics you have that qualify you for this position?
Okay, the top 3 characteristics that I believe that qualifies me best for this position is first that I think I have the skill set, the technical skill set, to do this very, very effectively. And the technical skill set I'm referring to is the fact that I have a background in mathematics as well as engineering, and I've also had a background in being a mortgage broker, where you're dealing with large sums of money as a mortgage broker. So that's the skill set in terms of the technical skill set. The other skill set is the integrity and the honor that I think I could bring to the job. And what I mean by that is sometimes you have to. I know it's a very delicate position to take because you're dealing with assets that people have worked for many, many, many years to acquire. And I certainly understand, and I would take that in my decision-making sort of parameters. But I know I can be sympathetic and empathetic to all of that when it comes time to talking. When it comes time to talking to people about their taxes and about their obligations. So the integrity, the honor, the being trustworthy, and just being benevolent in that position. And then thirdly, I think I have over the years, I have done several different jobs, and I have been successful in those jobs. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was successful 100% in everything I did in my life, because that would be an untrue statement. But I know how to be successful, and I know how to win. And I believe that kind of leadership and that kind of management skill would suit this job well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes, sir.
Kim, what do you feel are the top 3 characteristics you have that qualify you for this position?
Some of this will be reiterated, as Ben said, because I think integrity is the most important. That should go without saying. These are our tax dollars. This is our office. The Treasurer's office belongs to all of us. Without us, the government has no money. So this requires transparency and integrity. Leadership, as Ben mentioned, is probably even more important than accounting in this office. Being a strong leader, directing your staff efficiently and effectively, being able to properly delegate the duties, and yet understanding all of the different areas that you're working in. And even though leadership is probably more important than the accounting part, I do have experience with forensic accounting. So this would be an asset. Understanding often how accounts have reached the state that they're in, because they have many, many years of different owners perhaps. There are many different situations that happen. As we were talking about with the delinquent taxes, forensic accounting is helpful and be able to understand when things have not been accounted for properly and how do we track those records down.
Thank you, Kim. Linda, same question for you. What do you feel are the top 3 characteristics you have that qualify you for this position?
I'm going to say number 1 is experience. You know, when you've worked in an office, you get to know not only your citizens, but you know your employees. And your employees are your bees. They are the ones out there on the front lines every day. And I've had the experience of working the counter. I've done it all. If I've done a dog tag, a water bill, a tax payment, I've done it all. I am a working treasurer. I'm there. If there's a girl out, I can do it. I can write 10 deposits if I have to. I can count a cash drawer. So I think experience, being there and knowing how the office works. Number 2 would be fairness. Fairness to every citizen that is out there, regardless of what area you're in, how much property you own, the fairness to every citizen. And then the 3rd would be customer service. You know, everybody likes coming in an office where you have a smiling face, where someone's willing to wait on you, to help you, regardless if you just need a phone number or you need to know where to go to vote or you need to know, any other department. If you need to, just to find an office. It's customer service. And I have a wonderful staff, and I would put my staff up against any other staff in a treasurer's office anywhere in the state. They are good, and they are the bees that you see every day buzzing around and working hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. The next round of questioning will be directed to Kim. Kim, what are the top 3 issues you feel need to be addressed in the position?
I think Mrs. Lindhurst hit the nail on the head. Customer service needs to be done well in this county. I think we can do better with it. When you go look at other counties, they receive awards for their taxpayer-friendly service. We want to see people who get up and greet each taxpayer as if they are equal. The treasurer needs to meet with citizens who have issues and problems and have hours where they are reachable and accessible. The education issue with having a master's certification for the treasurer and for the staff is critical. This is a program offered through UVA, through the Weldon Cooper Center. And it may be difficult to have staff out to have training, but they do also offer online training. Other counties in the state are able to take care of these issues and still operate their offices efficiently and effectively. It would pay us back in spades to put a small outlay of money to have our treasurer and our staff properly certified by the Treasurers Association of Virginia. The 3rd area that I think is critical is modernizing the office, having remote deposit. Currently, the county pays for each and every check to be deposited instead of having the remote deposit offered by the bank for free. These are areas where we can save money and we can increase efficiency at the same time.
Thank you, Kim. Linda, same question. What are the top 3 issues you feel need to be addressed in the position?
Number 1, we do need to have credit card payments. And we have checked into this, and it's a very complicated issue because people that come in our office and want to pay their taxes online don't want to pay an additional 3% convenience fee. We are now working with procurement to get this done as quickly as we can and as efficiently as we can. But there again, everything has to mingle between our computer systems. And we don't want to take a credit card and then have to go back and manually post everything. It's not that we don't want to take them, but Fluvanna County is not going to pay that 3% convenience fee, because if they did, it would be another 1 to 2 cents on your taxes, and nobody wants increase in taxes. Another issue that they're addressing is the training. I've not been offered any online training whatsoever. The only online training that I have has been with the Department of Motor Vehicles, customer service that was offered by Fluvanna County online. You know, I'm not Goochland County. I'm not Virginia Beach. I don't have a large staff. And it's very difficult at times. And please understand that not every treasurer's office in the state of Virginia collects taxes June 5th and December 5th. Some are in November, some are in December. So when some of these classes are going on, we're collecting taxes, which is very difficult because, you know, we can't just have people get out of the office. And another issue, sorry.
Finish your thought, I'm sure.
Ben, I'll repeat the question for you. What are the top 3 issues you feel need to be addressed in the position?
I believe number one is transparency. I think with transparency, a lot can be covered and a lot can be accomplished, because the transparency, allowing the transparency piece, allows the government, the treasurer's office to run more smoothly and more effectively. And you say why? Because it allows the treasurer to be accountable to the people who place that person there. And generally, when you are accountable to someone, you work harder and you're more vigilant about what you're doing. And you seek out ways to make sure that your office is running more efficiently. You seek out ways to make sure that there are assets, there's software, there's people in your office to be properly staffed if you have the transparency in place. And not just as a basic rule, good governance requires open governance or transparency, so that the citizens that you serve have access to information and access to what that office is doing. So transparency for me is number one, because it keeps everyone in line. And working for people and working for civil service is something that we all need to be cognizant of. I have been in public service all my life, and that's been since 1983. I've been a staunch, ingrained into public service. And I did one job for 25 years, and I moved from that job of public service to another public service job at the high school. And now I've done those 2 jobs, so I'm ready to take on another job in public service. So I know what it takes to be a public servant or a civil servant. I've done it for a long time. And transparency, every step of the way, has been the hallmark. It keeps you out of trouble. Secondly is automation. Automation and the need for upgrading the automation. And I will say to you, if you put in certain assets in your office, it's not going to cost the people. It may cost the citizens because they understand there may be a convenience fee. But you want to have that asset there available for them to use. Some may use it, some may not use it. Based on my research, people generally use an ATM, not an ATM, but a debit/credit card in those offices. And then lastly, I would just say a culture of teamwork. A culture of teamwork in the office, as well as training and certification for your personnel that work for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Linda, next line of questioning. Why did you choose these 3 issues?
Those 3 issues are probably things that we've been asked about the most, particularly the credit cards. We do take credit cards, but they're done by a third party. We don't, you know, you can go online, you can pay by phone, you can pay by e-check. We don't get any money except what is owed us for tax payments. The convenience fee is paid directly to that third party. The other issue, is online training. I would love to have online training where we could do that at our own given time. Whether you could do that at your lunch if you chose to, or you could do that early in the morning. You're not out of the office. You could possibly pause that program if there is a line of people. And we do have lines of people. I'm sure some of you have been there at tax time. You've seen those lines. But we also do water bills. So the 10th of the month, everybody that has water through the sanitary district or Palmyra water, sewage, whatever, they have to come in and they pay their bills or they're mailed in by check. And then the other one that I didn't get to is the problem that we have with communication sometimes with our citizens. A lot of people do not know that they can make payments, come in and make a payment on their taxes. They think they have to pay it all or none, and that is not correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Ben, same question to you. Why did you choose these 3 issues?
The first is the transparency. Transparency to me is critical because it keeps you in line. It keeps you in the left and right boundaries of your lines. It keeps you in line, not in terms of just the treasurer's office, but also how you deal with the public. So transparency is really huge for me, and that's why I chose transparency, because I have learned over the years that if you're open and upfront with people, it keeps you clean, it keeps everything above board, and it keeps what you're doing straight. So I bring this with me from previous experience and previous jobs, is the transparency piece, and that's generally how government is laid out to be orchestrated. The second item was technology and modernizing technology. Technology is a big piece. I know that there's just from my research, I know that you want to make pay options available to people, multiple pay options available to people, and let them kind of choose. Let the citizens of Fluvanna choose. Not don't provide them to them, and then you choose what pay options you think they ought to use. So I'm more of the school that there's opportunities for automatic draft, there's an opportunity for e-checks, there's opportunities for online portal payments, and there's opportunities for going into the office. One of the things that kind of struck me about 6 months ago, I went into the office, and there was a note on the door that says, we do not have an but a debit/credit card machine in this office, and you can't pay that way in the office. I think that should be an opportunity for the people of Fluvanna to either choose to pay by that method or not to, and not take that from them. So I'm a big proponent of that. And the third thing is culture. You have to have a strong culture, because if you have a strong culture of teamwork where people understand what they're doing, they understand the left and right limits, they understand why they're there, you will have people in that office with huge smiles on their face every single day, because you have created an environment that's pleasant for them to participate in every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I'd like to remind the candidates to keep within the time frame, please. Kim, same question to you. Why did you choose these 3 issues?
First of all, I think education should be a priority. It's always a priority in any field that you work in. You get continuing education, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in accounting, whether you're a physician, whether you're a nurse. Continuing education is always something that has to be, you have to stop other work and you have to treat it as a priority. And if you don't have time for it, that's a management issue. So you need better management practices with your staff. And the Treasurers Association of Virginia does offer a certain amount of online training. Not all of it is offered through online, but our current office has not taken advantage of any of the online training or in-person training. It's something that the county sets aside in the budget every year to pursue, and we are behind the times in pursuing it. Customer service is one of those classes that is offered. It would teach our staff new ways in how to handle the public better. You're able to speak with other treasurer's offices and network and see how they handle different situations. And we might be able to learn from those other treasurer's offices how they're able to better adapt. If we keep to ourselves and stay isolated, we never learn anything new. And if we don't create those opportunities for our staff to be educated, we're isolating ourselves and we're going to fall behind. Integrity is, I believe, the key component for having a treasurer. That's their key job. There's no room for impropriety in this office. No room for second guessing a treasurer's motives. It should be perfectly transparent and they should be above reproach.
Thank you, Kim. The next question is rather convoluted, so bear with me on this one. It's directed towards Ben. Ben, how do you plan to, or in the case of the incumbent, how are you currently working with taxpayers who are having financial difficulties? You'd like me to repeat that question?
Yes, sir, please.
How do you plan to work with taxpayers who are having financial difficulties?
I think the thing that's actually pivotal to that is access. Making sure that they have, that the citizens of Fluvanna have access to the office and access to the treasurer in particular. So access will allow the citizens of Fluvanna County to come in and speak with the treasurer and express those concerns or hardships that might come up. So first is access. Secondly, I talked about the forum. Those forums will occur as often as they need to occur. And that's a collaborative / educational nature that allows me to share information with the community and for the community to have feedback to me. Now granted, that's somewhat of an open thing, and you may have to do one-on-one from time to time, but that's all a part of access and sharing information both ways. Thirdly, you want the best way to handle these things. I tell the young people I work with, and we go through a little drill. Okay, so if you do something wrong, okay, so that you're going to get my attention. Yeah, you're going to get my attention. So when you get my attention, you're also not only going to just get my attention, but you're also going to get my boss's attention. You're going to get your parents' attention. You're going to get the principal's attention. And a lot of people's attention we've gotten when I have to come over and ask you to do something multiple times. So what do I mean by that story? You want to get ahead of these things and take preemptive measures so that they don't spiral out of control. You want to go ahead of those things. And how do you get ahead of things that may become delinquent? You talk about them. You bring them up to you ahead of time so that they don't spiral out of place. And that's what I teach young people all the time. Is, don't wait to get to a problem. Let's talk about it before then. So if there are issues with people having a hardship, get to them before the hardship gets so bad that it's not recoverable. So it's about communications and relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Kim, the same question to you. How do you plan to work with taxpayers who are having financial difficulties?
I think access to the treasurer is one of the key components. I would also revamp our delinquent tax collection system. The current one is 10 years old and has not been revisited. The company that we work with out of Richmond collects the maximum allowed by the law, so this puts another burden on top of local residents who are behind in their taxes. Education, again, the first class I would take would be on delinquent tax collection. It's one of the most cumbersome of all of the areas that the treasurer needs to be knowledgeable in. It is one of the most difficult and tedious as far as the law is concerned. There is a lot of property sitting in Fluvanna that has been sitting in delinquency for a long time and nothing has been done with it. It needs to be remedied. The delinquent tax collection for our county needs to be overhauled completely. As I understand, I don't believe there's anybody doing any collections for personal property versus real estate. We do have someone collecting our real estate, and that is Anthony Paon's group. Needs to be something that we look at regularly. We do need to work with citizens. Everyone needs the opportunity to get out of a situation they find difficult. It can happen to anyone, anytime. But it also can't be done to the detriment of the rest of us. Our tax rates have increased, and our delinquent taxes have increased. We're not doing something right that would benefit our county. And we can overhaul the system and work with other counties and talk to them about what works well and educate ourselves.
Thank you, Kim. Linda, how are you currently working with taxpayers who are having financial difficulties?
You know, I have an open door policy. There's not a citizen that comes in that office that I won't meet with, that I won't counsel with, you know, and it's in a private setting. You need to meet with these people privately. They don't want everybody to know their business. They're very proud Fluvanna County citizens. We do have payment plans. You know, we have them both for real estate and personal property. Personal property, we do have collections in place. We do DMV holds. And if you're not aware of what that is, if you don't pay your taxes to Fluvanna, I can put a lien and you can't get your tags. Well, you know, and I try to work with people. It's very difficult if you have a job and you don't have a car with valid license plates on it to get to work, to pay your bills. I stress to people daily, talk to people daily, come in and let's work this out. You know, you don't want to have to look in your rear view mirror every time you drive down the road to see if there's a police officer because you don't have a current license tag on your car. Far as the collection of our real estate taxes, I'm not a lawyer. And it really takes a lawyer to do this. You have to go for a lot of different things. You have to go before a special commissioner to make sure that you've got everything done. All of the taxes are certified. So it's not just that I turn my back on anything. It is a process, and it is a legal process that I'm not an attorney. And yes, the county does that contract, not me.
Thank you, Linda. Next question, directed at Kim. Kim, what improvements will you make to the county treasurer's office?
If you'll bear with me, I'm sure some of this will be a little bit of repeat. But the first thing would be working with our banks in instituting remote deposit and getting rid of our check cashing fees. Modernizing the office, creating credit and debit card options. I do believe that a 3% charge or any other charge that a taxpayer receives for paying by credit card is up to them. It's not our choice as the government to tell them they have to pay this way or they cannot pay this way. This should be, it's 2019, this should be a normal payment option that we have. Creating a paperless system. Albemarle is already paperless. There are a lot of other counties that do this as well. Creating a better system for our computer, there are two different computer systems that don't talk well to each other. We need to create more efficient standards, and that may be a cost to the county in the short run, but in the long run, it's going to pay us back well. We'll be more efficient. We will have better practices. We need better separation of duties between our employees. As I've said resoundingly, we need education for this office. It is sorely lacking here, and we are behind the times with the rest of the state. I would also like to see more fairness in all residents being treated the same. It seems some people are given tax plans to repay their delinquent taxes, and some people are not. There needs to be a clear policy for both our personal property collections and our real estate property collections.
Thank you, Kim. Linda, same question. What improvements are you making to the county treasurer's office?
Well, we are working very diligently with our banks. We are working with our procurement officer to get debit, credit cards accepted in our office. You know, we do have to go through a process to choose credit cards. I can't just pick one and go with it. It has to be done by procurement. Whoever wants to, you know, bid on that, it goes through our procurement officer. One of the things that I would really like to see done would be every employee in my office trained on every item in there, whether it's a dog tag, whether it's mortgage companies, you know, anything that goes on in my office. I would like to see every staff member trained on that. It was very difficult at first. I'm fully staffed now because I had 2 vacancies. They just got filled. I believe that if everyone is trained on everything, if there's a person out, it doesn't stop the show. There's somebody else that's going to stop what they're doing, take on that responsibility. You know, every job you have, there's always extra duties assigned to you. And that's usually in a job description or as, you know, assigned. So the treasurer's office, everyone should know everything and be trained in every department. And that's a big ordeal when you have such a small staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Ben, what improvements will you make to the county treasurer's office?
Accessibility. That accessibility again to the treasurer and through transparency throughout the operations of the treasurer's office is probably the largest thing that I would seek to accomplish. Just making sure that the citizens of this county have the opportunity to come in and speak with the treasurer and kind of work hand in hand with the treasurer so that they understand that office works for them and they are there because you placed that person and entrusted that person to do the work that they're doing. Secondly, would be the technology. I really believe that if we create a more robust sort of automations technology system in the office, we could accomplish more. It would be more efficient. It would be more. We could work faster, smoother for the people of this county. I know we kind of talked about the debit credit card machine, but I think we could do that. And if you look around hard enough, you probably could do that at a very low percentage rate. I know some will say 3, some will say 2. I'm thinking you could do it even less than that. And if you get a startup company, potentially you could do it even less than 1%. But the point is, I think we need to have those capabilities in the office for the people in the county to choose from, and not have the people on the other side, make those decisions for you and limit your access and limit what your options are. And along with that is thinking out of the box. Thinking out of the box will allow you to do more than just, well, what does the code says? I mean, is there other ways that we can go to the state? Is there other ways we can tap into benevolent funds? Is there other ways we can tap into sources from the state or the federal government on ways to cover some of the fees that we might have to bear if we were to do certain things? And the last thing is culture. Changing the culture in the office. And that's huge because the culture in the office could be stagnating. And if you aren't careful, the culture could bring you down. So changing the culture in the office would be a large part of what I would try to accomplish. A positive culture that makes everyone feel comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Rudy, we've been at it for an hour. You want to take a 7th
yeah.
inning stretch?
Yeah, why don't we take 10 minutes, and we'll be back in here and starting at 5 minutes till 8.
10 minutes. All right, we'll resume the format. We have 5 remaining questions left.
Yes.
So that'll get us, if everyone works within the 2-minute time frame, we'll be out of here in pretty good time.
I can work tomorrow.
Okay, Linda.
Okay.
Starting with Linda. How do you propose to undertake leveraging technology to streamline the office?
How do you propose to,
undertake leveraging technology
okay?
to streamline the office?
Technology in the office, what computer system we have is left solely to the determination of our Board of Supervisors. When we were picking a new computer system, we went and visited other treasurer's offices that had that. With the Commissioner of Revenue, we all went, we all looked at it. The final say was actually left, again, to our Board of Supervisors. There are some customized programs that I would like to see us be able to have with the approval of the board, because in my budget, there is nothing for technology. We have a separate technology budget that is handled by our 2 IT people. I would like to be able to have a better program. Right now, on the system that we have, you have to go through a lot of screens to get to an end product. It would be much easier to be able to just scan something and it goes right in. That is not the system that we have right now. But there again, we would have to work with our Board of Supervisors. We would have to visit other treasurer's office to be able to get that technology. So I'm not against technology. I'm all for technology. If it'll make it easy for my staff, myself, I'm 100% for that. So we do visit other treasurer's offices and we look at their programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Ben, how do you propose to undertake leveraging technology to streamline the office?
In terms of technology, you have to wrap technology with training, making sure that the staff is properly trained on technology. In the past, when I fielded certain tech, and I did this several different times, when you field a particular technology or a new piece of equipment, fielding it is one thing, integrating it is one thing, but you also have to be trained on it. And that was a huge component to fielding or integrating or leveraging any kind of technology. So first, you have to make sure that your staff is trained on it, make sure that they're certified on it, and they know how to use it. Secondly, you have to make sure that it's implemented in the right way. And what I mean to say implemented in the right way, it's implemented so that it brings efficiency to your units. You make sure that you have the efficiency built in, because you may not need everything in a particular hardware or software package, but take a look at the hardware and software package and make sure that those things that you do need are optimized. And if you do that, that will add efficiency to your organization. And we've talked about a few of them already, but it's just basic accounting things. The thirdly is communications. When you communicate, I know at my current employment, there are many different avenues or mediums that the school can use or the organization can use to reach out and touch the treasurer. So you want to use all modes of communications to convey or communicate or to have some sort of dialogue with the people of Fluvanna County. And what I mean more specifically about that is not only just email, not just telephone, not visiting just the office, but also maybe put up a web page that that have the opportunity to share information with the public. Put up a Facebook page that I know a lot of young people, they may not send you an email, but they can sure check you Facebook all the time. So it's a way to communicate, and that's what that software. I mean, that's the kinds of leveraging power that we need. So there's a multi-pronged approach I would use. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Kim, same question. How do you propose to undertake leveraging technology to streamline the office?
One of the most important things that's going on throughout our country, certainly not just here, is protecting our personal information. As you all know, this hits banks every day, telecom industry, it's everywhere. Our credit cards are always being compromised. We need to leverage that kind of technology to protect our personal information for every single member of this county and every taxpayer who is here. We of course need to create ease of payment, but we can do that at the same time is creating safety for our citizens. And I would want to work directly with the Board of Supervisors and how we can do that best. And through education, we can leverage technology to better educate our staff, and we would be able to cross-train our staff in their different job duties if we had a more technologically advanced system. And perhaps I could talk to Mel Sheridan about how he was able to train his staff, as they're all master certified in the Commissioner of Revenue's office at the same time while running the office and keeping it functioning, as he was able to institute that. Communicating directly with the treasurer and providing information regularly, perhaps on delinquent tax sales, and creating a system that gives people more information on how they get out of delinquency and how they're able to make better decisions and actually come up with a plan and work with the county on how they can remove the delinquency and continue to pay their taxes. There's a lot of ways that we can harness technology and be able to get the people the information that they need specifically to get out of difficult situations. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Ben, what investments do you believe are available for the treasurer to use for capital that is needed for future expenditures?
Can you restate the question, repeat the question, please?
Yes. What investments do you believe are available for the treasurer to use for capital that is needed for future expenditures?
In the office of the treasurer, in terms of investment, of course, the investment comes as a result of funds or revenues that are available after all disbursements or payments have been made. So those are the dollars of the revenues that are being used for investment purposes. In terms of investment specifically, there are the Virginia Code has certain specific investment vehicles that you use to invest those things in. And here in the county, there is a board, there's a financial board, and that convenes to assist the treasurer in investing those dollars. One of the things that we have not done very well is not so much the investment of which specific instrument or which specific vehicle to use for investment, but the lack of investing. And that's been the challenge. We have not invested. Not so much what instrument to use, but the fact that we have not been using it. So there are guidelines to use to invest those dollars in, and those guidelines are put in place to protect your dollars, so that you prudently invest those dollars so that you get a yield from them and that you could use those dollars for capital investment in the county down the road. So there's a process that you use to identify those investment vehicles so that you can maximize those with the potential of not losing any sort of investment you may have. And I would prudently lean on the financial board to select those investment instruments so that the yield that we get from those investments be as large as they possibly can for the people of this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Kim, same question. What investments do you believe are available for the treasurer to use for capital that is needed for future expenditures?
We don't have quite the investment capital that we could have. For a long time, the county was making minimal amounts off of their investments. And from what I understand from speaking directly with the Board of Supervisors, we were making as little as $5,000 a year at one point on our investments. And recently, more like $200,000. And as what Mrs. Lenher told us earlier was about $319,000 this year. A smaller county than us, Goochland, close by, made $1 million last year. So what they did is they broadened their horizons. They looked at a lot of different options that they had not considered before. And they talked to more investment firms about how they can create a broader pool. They are very limited in what they can do with our money and how they can invest it. And it is a little trickier than you and I investing our money. And we're able to take more risks as individuals that we cannot withstand with our county money. We have to keep that safe. But a smaller county has proven that this can be done. We need to work more closely with the Board of Supervisors and not being as closed off, and allowing them to look into these investments and understand them better. Educating the board and other members in our government about how these investment pools work would be very helpful. That's another area where we could leverage technology and have some forums open to the public so that we have greater transparency in how that's being done. And we as citizens could participate in that process. We do have a democracy, and we need to utilize it more heavily because we have a lot of people to draw on with a lot of experience here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Linda, what investments do you believe are available for the treasurer to use for capital that is needed for future expenditures?
We have a finance board that is made up, as I told you before, of a citizen. It is made up of a Board of Supervisors member. It is made up of the finance director and myself. In this finance board, we request the Board of Supervisors through the finance director to let us know what debt payments they will have coming up within a certain amount of time. Once we have that schedule, then we are able to invest our funds for a length of time. We have some currently invested for 3 to 5 years. We know that during that period of investment, we're not going to be using those funds. So instead of having those funds sit there idle in your local bank or the banks that we used, we have invested those through, we have a Virginia investment pool, and we also have multi-bank securities, which are usable under the Code of Virginia by the Treasurer's Office. These are bringing us a much higher rate of interest, and also by having these invested for a little longer period of time, we were able to lock in a great rate of interest. But we had to know what debts are coming up so that we would have money available to make the school debt payment, to cover our payroll every month, to cover our bills every month, to pay for our fire, rescue, any vehicles that we have purchased under a lease agreement. That is how we invest our funds.
Thank you, Linda. Kim, what tools do you feel are the most useful for communicating the role of the treasurer with the citizenry?
With the advancement of society, the web, I think, provides the best forum for us to be able to disperse information. Broadening in some other horizons that we hadn't looked at before, like Facebook, or emailing, mass emails to communicate to people. I just got a notice that my child is receiving her report card and progress report from Fluvanna County Public Schools via email now. Now we would have to have other backup plans for people who do not have access to email. But by and large, throughout our community, everyone can be reached this way. We can also start putting our bills on email so that we would decrease the amount of spending for things like postage. So that's another area where we could modernize. And creating a forum where residents could continue to ask questions, and they're posted online, the answers to them. How do you do this? These could be really expanded upon from the great ground base we have for the current Fluvanna website. I think we can have a portal that's designated to give us more information through the Treasurer's Office. We can check on our current tax rate, our taxes on our current property, see where we stand with them. In other states that we've lived in, there was a much more accessible program, and we were able to check on our own taxes at any given time of the year. So communicating through the current technology that's available to us would be very helpful.
Thank you, Kim. Linda, what tools do you feel are the most useful for communicating the role of the treasurer with the citizenry?
I guess I'd have to say my 35 years of experience and knowing the areas of Fluvanna County, not every citizen in Fluvanna County has email. Not every citizen in Fluvanna County even has a computer. And in order to email a tax bill to all the citizens, that would be a very difficult thing to know that that individual taxpayer received that bill. And I'm not real 100% sure what the law is about doing emails concerning tax bills. And I think Ben has a great idea, Facebook. I never thought of Facebook for people to, ask you a question. But I just want to tell you, every one department in Fluvanna County has email. All of my employees have email. I have email. And I get emails 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, the tools that we have to provide our citizens are what those citizens in individual areas need. There's not just an email for everyone. That's not going to work with some of your citizens in areas. I myself am in an area where there's not very good internet service at all. So these are things we need to look at. Technology is a great tool, but we have to make sure that legally we're using those tools correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Ben, same question. What tools do you feel are the most useful for communicating the role of the treasurer with the citizenry?
So in this question, we're really talking about situational awareness. Making the citizens aware of what we're doing. Situational awareness. And that doesn't imply telling you everything, because we want to be mindful and cognizant of security. Now, why is that important? Now, I did for 5 years with a fairly large organization something that's called information assurance. I'm fully aware of what information assurance is and how we need to overlap and overlay any kind of communications with some type of security, so that certain things are not released and certain things that are confidential are not released and kept in-house. With that, we need to make sure that people do have situational awareness from their treasurer. So I would do that, and I would also be cognizant of making sure that we don't release the wrong things. So situational awareness is important for this. I would take a multi-step approach in this. I understand that the county's working on this, on getting access or internet access to pretty much across the county. But as we speak, I realize it's not there. So I would use a multiple approach. One is email, one is Facebook. That's a good way to kind of share information with people. The one that I like most is face-to-face. I like to get with people and actually get them in a room and to talk to them and kind of speak with them on a one-to-one basis, because that's what I do. I love people and I love talking to people. Everything I do in my life is dealing with people, and I try to do that as sincerely as I possibly can. Coming into the office, there's nothing wrong with doing the old-fashioned, come into the office and sit down and have a cup of tea, and we'll talk about it and try to work on a solution for you. Telephone, there's nothing wrong with the telephone. Pick it up and call me. Nothing at all. And the one that probably is kind of state-of-the-art is the Twitter feed. Follow me on Twitter, I think is what the kids say. So follow me on Twitter, and that's a way of sharing or imparting information back to the citizenry on what's happening with the treasure. So it's the bottom line, a multi-pronged approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. The next question, Linda. How do you propose ensuring you have more diversity in staff? Gender, economic, educationally, etc.
Well, when you hire a person, You look at their qualifications. You look at their experience. And you look at what they've done in their past jobs. I think I have a very diverse staff. You know, I've had a girl from Hawaii. I just hired a wonderful young black lady in my office that was at UVA for 15 to 20 years. She decided she wanted to come to Fluvanna. Diversity in an office, yes, it's important. But the most important thing in an office is making sure your staff is covering every section of their jobs, their duties, and being there with a cheerful face to work and greet everyone every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Ben, same question. How do you propose ensuring you will have more diversity in staff, gender, economic, educationally, etc.?
This is a question about office culture and functionality. Office culture and functionality. Above all, you want the office to function. And you want the office to have the right culture that allows it to function at its optimal peak efficiency. And you do that by recruiting. And ideally, you want your office to reflect your population. So you have to think about what the makeup of your population, of the population of Fluvanna County, and you'd like for your office to reflect that population. So I would seek to do that. And I would seek to do that through recruitment. And how do you do that? There's many different ways you can recruit people. You can recruit people online, you can go to the universities, you can go to the high schools, for instance, and you can go over to the junior colleges. So there's multiple ways to do that. And I would seek in all of those different categories. I would be mindful and sensitive about all those categories. Not only we think about color or race, but there's also that factor of disability, people with disabilities. Do you see someone from time to time who has a disability working in the office? I would be sensitive to all of those things, and I would use recruitment as an opportunity to make sure that our office is culturally diverse and it's serving the people of this county in a high efficiency way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Kim, same question. How do you propose ensuring you will have more diversity in staff, gender, economic, educationally, etc.?
I think diversity certainly enters into a lot of different things. We do have race, we have gender, we have religion. It offers a wide scope. Increasing the education level, and I keep hammering on this, increasing the education level of our treasurer and our staff will naturally lead to more diversity within our office. It will increase their pay. When they are certified with the Treasurers Association of Virginia, they get a pay bump. And they will actually eventually migrate out of the treasurer's office and get another job, allowing the opportunity for yet more people within Fluvanna County to enter into the treasurer's office, get great experience in a government role that allows them growth and opportunity. When we prevent our own people from having education, we prevent their growth, and they stay in that office for indefinite periods of time. We need turnover. It's healthy. Every once in a while, having new staff in there and teaching new people how to do things, you get new people in who have fresh ideas. And you're going to end up with diversity because you have more different people rotating through the office. We do have a diverse county. Look at this room. We have a really amazing community right here that we can draw on, and a really fantastic education level already for this community, which the treasurer's office is one of those rare opportunities where they can further it on the job, and the government helps to pay for their education and will move them up another bracket in their pay. They bring more money into Fluvanna County when they then graduate out of that role and into another role serving elsewhere, where either in the county or within a close by community like Charlottesville or Richmond. So I think there's a lot of different options for diversity in the treasurer's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Ben, will you continue to employ the current staff after the election?
The short answer to that is yes, because I think for continued operations, for continuity purposes, it's important that people stay in place, and also for those families who are inside that office. It's important for them to understand that there's a certain compassion that I would bring to the office. So short answer is yes, I would continue to, because there's not only for continued operation, but there's a cross-lateralization, a cross-fertilization of skill sets that they would bring to the office that would be helpful for us to continue to serve this county in an effective way. Along with the training aspect of that as well. Because over time, you want to make sure that each person in your office has been trained to a certain level and has certain certification along the way. And when I was coming through different organizations, there were training along the way. Every time I did something, when I deployed, I remember deploying once, and if you weren't trained before you deployed, you could have bad days. So every time I did something, there was a training and a certification that went with it. So in addition to not only keeping those people, I would certainly also make sure that they're properly trained and they have certification behind them so that we can do the best we can for the people of this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Kim, same question. Will you continue to employ the current staff after the election?
I think it would be foolish to get rid of a staff and start over again, particularly in our county. We have people who are trained who are in the office, provided of course that they are doing their jobs and that they are working on improving and they're efficient and they enjoy their jobs. One thing I would offer them as a component of them continuing their employment is that they participate in the certification program. That will make them better, will make them stronger, and it will increase their pay level. They are currently being deprived of an increased pay because they're not permitted to attend certification programs. You would want continuity certainly in the office. No one wants to come in and start over. There's enough work to be done. There's a natural attrition rate anyway. There will be people who seek other opportunities. So to start over with a whole fresh staff would be ludicrous. You want to retain as many people as possible. And if they're struggling, you help them to do better. You get them the tools that they need and make them stronger in their current jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the questioning from the forum. So I turn it over to you, Rudy, for any questions you might have.
Why don't you go ahead and let them do a closing statement?
All right, well, for a closing statement, how much time do you want to give them? 3 minutes? All right. 3 minutes for closing statements. We'll start with, let's see, I believe Ben won the honors. So, Ben?
Okay, first I'd like to thank you for allowing me to share some of my thoughts with you tonight regarding my pursuit for the Office of the Treasurer. One of the things I wanted to echo again was my forward-looking vision for the Office of the Treasurer. The forward-looking vision. I want the office to remain positive. I want the people inside the office to remain positive. I want you to be able to see smiling, caring faces in the office. We want to be sympathetic and empathetic to the people that we serve in this county. So I would do everything I can to make sure that office is running as smoothly as it possibly can and as efficiently as it possibly can. I have a track record of working long hours. So I know how to put in the sweat equity to make things work. I have the training, the background, the technology, the technical attributes are all sufficient and necessary to make that office run very, very, very smoothly. I only ask you to give me the opportunity to do that. So I ask you again, I ask for your support, and more importantly, I ask for your vote on November 5th to make me your next County Treasurer for the County of Fluvanna. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ben. Kim?
Thank you all for taking time out of our busy schedules. I know it's not always your first choice, so I really commend each and every one of you for being here and caring about our community enough to show up here. And every single person in here, and I know most of you, does something within the community, and they participate and they care. We all care deeply about the future of Fluvanna. I would like to serve as part of that future as your treasurer. I believe I have the drive, I have the knowledge, I have the willingness to figure out what we don't know yet. What we are entering now with finances in the current realm of our country is new. There's a lot of new things that we have to learn. And we can be state of the art here. We can provide more for Fluvanna County, more efficiently, more effectively, with a well-educated staff and a well-educated treasurer. We have had a long, good run with the treasurer. And we need change in Fluvanna. It's healthy every so often to have some turnover, just like we do with the president's office. We have term limits. There are a lot of mixed opinions on term limits, but I don't think it would hurt any of us to have a fresh set of eyes after 35 years and have a new way of looking at things and having greater transparency in our office and ensuring that we have integrity in our county carrying forward. And I would appreciate you coming out to vote. Please get your family, your friends to turn out. This year may have a rather low turnout, as this is the only contested local race. We need to encourage one another to participate in our democracy. And I really am proud of all three of these treasurers candidates, and that we're all independents. We may have a leaning towards different directions, but we're all Americans, and we need to not seek a Republican answer or a Democrat answer. We need to seek an American answer, and one that's best for all Fluvanna. And I appreciate your vote on November 5th this year.
Thank you, Kim. Linda?
I'd just like to say thank you for coming out. Thank you for listening to each and every one of us tonight, all the questions that we've answered. You know, I've served as your treasurer for about 35 years, and I know people think, oh, that's a long time. But you know, in a treasurer's office, it's a lot to learn. It's a lot of responsibility, and you have to take on a lot of hard work. I don't get to the office at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I don't leave at 4:30. There are a lot of weekends that I'm there working because I need to be there doing stuff. Because sometimes you have a day that you're going to meet with 10 to 15 people, and you haven't gotten any of your work done. And you need to make sure when you are treasurer of this Fluvanna County, you know the areas that you're serving, you know the people you're serving. And I just want to say, I've got that experience, and I've got that commitment to each and every one of you. And I'm committed to maintaining that public trust. So I just ask for your vote, and I hope you will come out on November 5th and vote, because your vote does count. And I'd like to say thank you again for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Linda. And maybe we have a round of applause for these three candidates.
And while you're applauding, why don't you applaud our moderator?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. This was far exceeded our expectations at the chamber. My board members who are in here, if you would stand up, please. The chamber board is an all-volunteer board. There's 7 of us, and 3 of us are here tonight. So please give them a round of applause. The next big event for us as a chamber is going to be October the 21st. I would encourage you, if you have questions for the 6 candidates running for office who are going to be up here on October the 21st, please email them to the chamber office. Our chamber board will curate those questions, combine them, and hopefully we'll have a good set of questions to ask the candidates on October the 21st. I thank you very much for your time. The candidates said they would stay here a little bit longer if you want to ask them individual questions. Have a great evening. Be safe going home. Watch out for the deer.
Yes.